Hello and welcome to my review for Leave No Trace, a film directed by Deborah Granick, who directed a very notable film in the career of Jennifer Lawrence, and that's Winter's Bone from 2010, which is a really good film. I saw that many years ago and thought it was really something. And so I was looking forward to seeing this film. It was one of those ones that just came out of nowhere, was released a few months ago, and we had a number of films that we could have gone to see in the cinema, and this was one of them. And I was like, okay, let's just go with it. You know, it could be something that is, I hasten to use the word boring, but it could be something that's not as memorable or as wow as some of the films that me and Connie usually go to see in the cinema, which is usually like the blockbusters, the action movies, things like that. This film, it felt like it had the potential to be something really meaningful and full of some kind of weight that many of those blockbusters seem to lack. So it was one of those gambles, I feel, at least when going to see a film with Connie, because, you know, for me, I'll go and see anything, you know, I'll give anything a shot. But I feel like with Connie, like, it's hard to sell her on these kinds of movies. But we went to see it, and we both loved it. And I was even more bolstered by the fact that she loved it and that she got something out of it as well. The film follows Will, played by Ben Foster, and Tom, played by Thomasin McKenzie, I believe her name is, young actress. And it's a father and daughter, Will and Tom, and they're living out in a state park, just in the wilderness. And the story really doesn't get explained to you, and I really enjoy films that don't do exposition hand-holding. You don't get that scene where they sit down and tell you everything that's happened before. You kind of get drip-fed little nuggets throughout the film in natural forms of conversation that you piece together slowly that Will was a veteran and is going through some kind of post-traumatic stress disorder or shell shock, whatever you want to call it, however you want to label it, and has taken to fending for himself and his daughter out in the wilderness. Now, the daughter, Tom, she's about 13, 14, maybe even 15, so she's not a young kid, but she's still a kid. And you see them kind of just living their life and kind of being off the grid and being self-sustaining. They'll go to the town every once in a while, and you see their routine. And a film like this set in the outdoors, there's a prime kind of there's you know, lots of great moments and opportunities to showcase great cinematography. And I love that the film didn't lean into that too much, but it definitely does dabble in it and kind of showing you some gorgeous natural beauty amid the story of these two humans kind of fending for themselves. Now, it isn't completely in the wilderness because, as I say, it's in a state park, so there's still that kind of tenuous, kind of sinewy link to humanity. The other people that are not too far behind. And in fact, what happens is Tom actually accidentally gets seen in the state park. I believe it's a state park. I feel like I've been saying state park so much, I need to be correct on that on that point. But she's seen by someone, and I guess it's kind of, you kind of understand by the way they're doing things at the beginning of the film that the plan is to not be seen by anyone because they don't want to be interfered with. They want to just live their life out there in the woods. So Tom gets caught, or she gets seen by like a jogger. And so he alerts the police, the government, maybe the state troopers, and they come and they find Tom and Will. And they get taken into, you know, what would you even call it? The equivalent of social services, I suppose. And I don't know all the technical terms, and it has been a few months since I saw the film, but I really wanted to make a video about it, and I just never got around to doing it. And I really want to try and champion this film in some way, shape, or form. So they get taken in, and another thing I loved about this film was I never knew where it was going. I never knew what the end game of this story was, and that to me was really exciting. So when it got to this point where they were taken in by social services and Tom and Will got split up, I thought, that's what this film's all about. It's going to be one of those frustrating films where the father and the daughter get separated and they need to get back together again by the end of the film. No, they get rehomed together. And so they have this new life where they've got to try and fit in with the system. and you get to see them, attempt to re-ingratiate themselves with society. And then it changes again. And I loved how the film kept changing. It kept me on my toes. And also just how it really delved into, really just proper honed in on this father and daughter relationship. I thought that Ben Foster was incredible in the film, quietly incredible. I would label his performance, because there's so much going on under the surface there, and he really doesn't let it show all that much. I think it's an incredibly layered performance where, there's acting going on top of acting. You can see everything in this man's face. There's just a world of emotions and, just regressed stuff going on inside this guy's mind and psyche. And it all comes through. And as you see these characters grow together and grow apart a little bit, and you see that Tom, she has, maybe a different idea of how the world works now, because she gets to see a glimpse of what it could be like in a society, in a community, whereas Will is really just, no, we have to be on our own, and that's it. And that's kind of his problem because of what he's been through. And so maybe he needs to recognize what's best for his daughter, not what's best for him. And so there's a lot of challenging going on between these two characters, and I thought that they played it off beautifully. I totally believed this was a father and a daughter. I thought the actress Thomasin McKenzie was incredible, again, in a quiet kind of way. These are the kind of performances that I love in films, and when you get two of them in one film, that's when magic starts to really happen, I feel. And like I say, quietly beautiful and quietly intense and full of meaning. There's just such a weight to a story in a film like this, without trying too hard to make you feel like there's weight and meaning to it. There's not many scenes where there's an explosion of emotion, where it's like, feel this. It's more just implied at times, but also just laid bare in a very human way, in a very relatable way. And I love how it ended. I love how the story concluded, how, there was room to imagine what would happen afterwards. But I love the whole journey of seeing them go through these different situations and seeing the desperation, seeing the struggle, fighting against the system, trying to work with the system. And, again, always being kept on my toes as to where the story was going. This to me is one of my absolute favorite films of the year so far. I think everyone needs to see it. I think it's a fantastic film, and I would highly recommend it. So if you've seen it, please let me know down below your thoughts. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.
It's alright by me. Apart from the fact he throws cans of Carlin into a tree. Yeah, he's really cool. Yeah, he's really cool. But he's not quite as cool as you, 'cause